The tagline. A tagline can also be called a logline. You might hear that term more often in the film industry, and almost all publishers and anyone trying to get you to consume media uses them. You're trying to get a reader to consume your media, therefore, you need to be good at writing taglines too. These are the short, hooky sentences you'll see a lot of indies put in bold right at the top of their book description pages. It's worth your time and energy to sit down and work on the very best taglines you can. Test different ones and see which ones convert best. Use those. We'll talk more about testing in a little bit. A tip here though, I try to make my taglines less than 150 characters. Not always, but sometimes. Why? That's what Amazon lets me use in my ad copy, and I've seen it help my conversions to have the same tagline in my ad that's on my product page. So remember, I trained myself to write query letters, and I was really good at it. I had a thriving business writing query letters for other people, and I wrote entire blog series on how to craft the best query letter out there. I've taught classes and workshops from California to Kansas on writing killer blurbs or writing a killer query letter, or whatever the title of the class needed to be for the conference where I was presenting. When I turned to indie publishing in 2014, I realized all of my query letter writing skills would continue to serve me, and now well, see, I wrote a line in my query letter for a book that Simon & Schuster would go on to publish. It was Control or Be Controlled. It was the last line in my query letter, The Consequence, which we'll talk more about later on. And that line, those 4 words, made it through the scads of people who work on a book in traditional publishing to the cover. The cover. The tagline I wrote was now the tagline on the front cover of my book. The traditional market doesn't even keep titles, people. They keep nothing an author comes up with on their own. Literally. And yet, my tagline made it through all the chopping blocks. All the agents. All the editors. All the vice presidents. All the art department designers. That's how powerful your taglines can and should be. It's worth the time to get them right. Your tagline should be something that entices a reader to one-click buy, or entices a reader to keep reading, just in case they're still on the fence. On Amazon, you only get a few lines above the fold. If you look at a series page, you get 2 lines for each book. I made some of my taglines shorter and in all caps, and they look really nice on those series pages. Check out an example here. Just scroll down and read the capitalized, bold taglines. What both of these things mean is there's a see more link on each individual product page, and you want to put your best stuff above that, enticing readers to buy without having to make that extra click and read more. You can and should still entice them to buy the book if they do click that see more link. Every word should take them further and further up the mountain toward buying. Remember those goats? You have to get them past the trolls. Here's my formula for taglines. List character. Use common tropes in plain language. Spell out the conflict in one succinct sentence. That's it. Surprisingly simple, right? Haha. Right. You can exercise your tagline muscles by looking at bestsellers in your categories. What are they doing for taglines? What do their blurbs look like? Are they in first person or third? Are they long or short? Do they use a lot of questions or not? First, list character. So when you sit down to work on some taglines, you're going to start with character. Answer, who is the main character? Write a couple of words for them, thinking of tropes. Female detective, cowboys, billionaires, amateur sleuth, shifter. Be smart. Use the tropes within characters you know are selling books. Not yours yet, but look at what is selling and see what they're doing. I'll put in a word of caution here, as I'm not the first to say, go to Amazon and see what the best sellers are doing. That's good advice. But you have to understand something. They're best sellers. They're selling a lot of books. Usually, when you're at a point like this in your career, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. Your name is selling the book. I'm going to say that again, because I think it's really important. Usually, when authors are at a point where they are consistent bestsellers, it doesn't really matter what they're doing. Their name is selling the book. So, that said, you can look at some bestsellers and see them doing things differently. And you might think those things are working, but really, they're only working because of the name already on the front cover. Be sure to be smart. Look at a lot of books across your genre. Go up to the top 10 in your category and start there. Look at 10, 50, and see what they're doing. Is it the same as number 1? It might be. It might not be. Another thing to try is to identify an author that you think your books are very much like. The covers are similar. Genre is a match. And you want to get their readers to read your books. What are they doing? See if you can do it too. Okay, so you're starting with character. Putting in a trope with the character if you can. Here's a couple of examples: a cowboy with a son, a witch who can't do simple spells, a former football star. Can you see how I'm using tropes and identifying character? These provide metadata words, cowboy, witch, football, that tell readers what kind of character they'll get while also identifying tropes: single dad, sports star, paranormal. Stop and work. Take a few minutes and write down 5 character-based beginnings for your tagline. Tap them out on your phone. Type them up in a blank email. That's what I would do. LOL. And don't worry, I didn't leave you high and dry. You can download a 2-page PDF file that has all 5 parts of a killer blurb that you can print and use to your heart's content. It's got room for notes and attempts and your thoughts. Go grab it here. Up next, use common tropes in plain language. If you have a second chance romance, you better be using those 3 words. Fake fiancé. Get it in there. Psychological thriller? Space opera? Whatever it is, it should be clearly identified. Hopefully within the title, subtitle, or series name, which is in bold by the cover, but also in the description box, specifically in the tagline. If you do the work, you can get it in there. A cowboy with a son, his old high school girlfriend, and their second chance at love. There's a tagline that spells out character and trope in very plain language. It doesn't take many words, and remember, you don't have many words to use. The shorter and pithier your taglines are, the better. And that one is 85 characters, so I know it's going to fit in the Amazon ads box. I can even add second chance romance and read today. I still have 30 characters to spare, and bam, my ad copy is done too. I mean, might as well be knocking birds out left and right while I'm working on this tagline stuff, right? The tagline is something readers can zip through as they navigate to the buy button. It becomes something you can use in your advertising. Then, when people click on your ad and they're taken to your product page, it matches. They know they're in the right spot, and they're primed to buy. Up next, spell out the conflict. I know, I hear some of you saying, I have to get the conflict in the tagline. That's impossible. It is, and it isn't. You don't have to go deep. But you should hint at what readers will get before you launch into the full blurb/description. You can say a lot with a few words, and the better you are at that, the better you'll be at writing not only copy, but books too. You can combine the conflict with the tropes, with the characters. In fact, the best taglines do. Here's an example from one of my best-selling books, A Wounded Army Cowboy, a divorcee with a child, and their second chance to heal old hurts. I don't tell you what the hurts are. But I have two characters. This is obviously a romance, defined in tropes: cowboy, military hero, single mom, and their conflict, an old flame that burned them both, which now they get a second chance to have. You don't have to go super deep. But if I have a reader who likes cowboys, army heroes, or single moms, I've got them hooked already. If I have a reader who loves second chance romance, they know they'll get one here. Those first few words, which I would recommend you put in bold in your descriptions, can do so much to sell your books. Note, your blurb and cover work together to convince a reader to buy. They should both speak to genre, character, and conflict so readers can make split-second judgments. That's the society we live in now. Split-second judgments. Quack, quack. Make it look like and sound like something familiar but also unique. So while this book isn't about covers, you should make sure yours is as to market as you can get it. Don't be afraid to recover if necessary. I recently did this for a series that was floundering and it's doing much better now. Once you have your tagline down, you can test it. I'm almost to that. Then you just need to focus on the rest of your blurb/description, which you can nail flawlessly in the next few chapters. Testing taglines. I think there is great power in testing. I know it takes time. It can take money. You might fail. All three of those prevent people from achieving their best results. I know, because I've tried to cut corners on pretty much everything in indie publishing. I never said I was perfect. I also regret nothing I've done. That sounds super arrogant, I'm sure. I don't mean it to be. What I mean it to be is this: you don't know what you don't know. Sure, you can read books and take courses and lurk in groups the way I have and still do. But until you try a strategy for yourself, your books, your genre, your personality, you do not know what will truly work for you. So yes, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've learned from them. I know for myself what works well, and I know what doesn't. If I keep doing more of what works and less of what doesn't, I should be able to find some measure of success. In the end, it's only when I test that I find success. What works for one person even with a very similar book might not work for you. Remember Beth? Don't be Beth. Be you. You need to test. The simplest and cheapest way to test taglines is with Amazon Advertising, formerly Amazon Marketing Services. Create a sponsored product ad and use their custom text option. There, you get 150 characters for a tagline. I've put in my top 5 taglines on the exact same keyword list, only test one thing at a time, and we're testing taglines here, not audiences. Set the ads at $5/day each, and waited a week. Some of you might be dying about this. That's $175, you say. Well, kind of. Amazon's not generally going to spend all of that. After the 7 days, you should have some good data on which tagline seems to be working the best. Use that one. You can change your description on Amazon anytime you want. You might be surprised which tagline converts best, and you'll probably find that different taglines convert better with different audiences. That's why you test them. You can do the same with Facebook, and I often do. Facebook, however, will spend all of your money. It's like they do it as easily as breathing. So if you set a $5/day budget on Facebook, they will spend it. The difference is, Facebook gives you results a lot faster than Amazon does. I found, however, that I need to let my $5/day Facebook ads run for 2 to 3 days before I have enough data. Now, you could up the ad spend and get the data faster, but then you're spending more. It's all up to you. Just be sure you're only testing one thing, the tagline, however you decide to do it. Facebook gets a little convoluted, because there are images besides the cover involved, and yet, once you've done some testing, you can update your tagline to the best one, perhaps changing it up every now and then as the market changes, or as you start advertising to new audiences. Final words on taglines. List character, trope, and conflict as succinctly as possible. Write down 5 taglines for the same book and edit/rework them until you're happy with one. Get feedback from friends/other writers on it. Test the tagline on Amazon or Facebook advertising. Make it stand out. You can use bold or even bigger letters. Canvalpreneur has a great formatting tool here. Don't be afraid to change your tagline at any time, as the market changes or as your tests indicate.